Hey everybody, a good Sunday to all. This is Laser from the back porch in between bomb warnings. Just about a half an hour ago, unfortunately, a big one fell in the Tel Aviv area. People got injured. These are our illegal cluster bombs that are falling, but they're falling much less. And we are feeling here in Israel that the war has turned the corner in Lebanon and Iran, and the world is being freed from evil. Thank you to the United States and the people that understand they're supporting that. And I just want to tell people that a lot of times you have to understand it's so unhealthy when you try to make the world black and white, all this way or all that way. The same people who I saw who were fanatical about the COVID. Oh, it's I hate everybody that ever took a vaccine, or I hate everybody that's against the vaccines. Those are the same people that try to make Trump either 100% the Messiah or 100% Satan. And it's just not like that. There's a lot of grays. Sometimes there's things that people do well, there's things that people do not as well. There's things that, with all of us, I think what we first have to do is focus on what do we want to change with ourselves, what will we fix with ourselves, and how would we want people to judge us. I can tell you one thing about Donald Trump that I've learned over the years, and I've seen this with a lot of big famous people who have been unsuccessful with it, and a lot of people who are religious leaders unsuccessful with it. Yet to Donald Trump's credit, if you really want to know if a person's a good person or not, you have to look at how his children react to him. Now, okay, I know those people will say, well, he's got a lot of money, they want some of his money. When you look at the way that Donald Trump's children speak about him, you can be sure they're getting, when the children see the parents like no one else sees a person. Like, if you want to see if a person's great, don't listen to his teammates. You can, okay, maybe a little bit for that. But if someone has children, if you see their children, their relationship with their parents, that tells you a lot. So I would say, to Donald Trump's credit, his children really think he's a great guy. And a lot of people who actually meet him and sit down with him think he's a great guy. And we all know there's so many things we would like to wish we could change about him, the way that he reacts to people who disagree with him, the way that he starts with, it's the biggest, it's the best ever, and these exaggerated statements. And, the way he's reacted to the past of people he doesn't like, or some reporter, or, the way he's peddled in perhaps, you know, taking on the alt-right, even though he's had to clean himself from those people lately. And I think a lot of the policy decisions, to tell you the truth, for 4 decades, the whole illegal immigrant thing in the border, the whole thing with tariffs and the imbalance of the way America has done business around the world, and this whole Iran situation, these are things that he has got handed, that he didn't create. But to his credit, politicians never take these things on because these are hot potatoes. These are things that you never win in your immediate elections, whether it's midterms or the big elections. It's only good for America years to come. And it is going to be painful making this turn with Iran, but it is going to be so beneficial in the future and necessary, and things that other presidents just passed on down the line. I know that no one wants to put any American lives in danger, but the way the world is, it's just not possible to always do that. And even though there were huge mistakes in Iraq and Afghanistan, and those were probably wars that shouldn't have happened, should have been done differently, because you need the people on the ground there to be activated and ready. And that wasn't the situation there. America's come a long way. Israel has a lot of intelligence information on Iran. Iran has been terrorizing the whole region for 47 years. All the terrorist proxies, it's cost thousands of American lives in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Israel, in Syria, in Iraq, in so many other places because of the Iran proxies. And so many billions of dollars have been wasted on other presidents that just would let Israel defend itself a little bit, but then say, no, you know what? We don't want to go far enough to end this regime. So then they would just build it up again, and you'd have to do it again in 4 or 5 years later, 10 years later. So let's hope that the American regime and the American people don't make the same mistake to have already lost those precious American lives and spent so many money, so many Israeli lives. Here we're paying a very high price. All our children are traumatized. In my hometown, we've had the booms of these cluster bombs. These are ballistic cluster bombed missiles. These are illegal under international law. They're just targeting 14 million citizens, this Iranian regime. This is not a responsible regime. If anyone knows anything, don't pay attention to all Russia and China and all of the fanatical oil-rich Muslim countries are spending billions of dollars on propaganda that America shouldn't make this war. They're using the Jeffrey Sachses, the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owenses, the Nick Fuenteses. They're all getting paid from all these sources because America and Israel are going to make this place safer and a democracy in a region that's been plagued. There's so much good that can come here, and you see that with the Abraham Accords. The reason October 7th happened when it did was, first of all, you had a very weak president. That's why the Russian-Ukraine war started under Biden, and that's why the Hamas started, because the next step was having the Saudis and other people say, hey, these other Muslim nations made a peace accord with the Israelis, and wow, these Israelis, they're not monsters. These are actual great people with a lot of technical information. They're the only country in the whole Middle East that has full equal citizenship for Christians and Muslims. We don't have that in all the Muslim countries. You don't have Jewish citizenship in the Muslim countries, maybe just Azerbaijan. And the Muslims want to kill them. So friends, you have to wake up to know the truth about the situation. Even if you don't like Donald Trump, and there's things that I really don't like about Donald Trump, you have to respect the right things that he does do right with the policy decisions and support them for your own sake, for your own country. When it comes to the next election, so don't vote for him. But know that America will be up the creek without a paddle if somehow they get into this Iran thing, and because of American citizens' pressure, they back down or try to make some peace thing. That will so much empower these crazy Shiite radicals in Iran that are controlling it, that not only will there be a bloodbath in their own country, that they'll slaughter all the opposition, they are going to come after in revenge after all Americans and all over the world. These people are not going to sit quiet after you. So you have to, if you go after a beehive, you either don't touch it or you have to totally decimate it, otherwise it's going to get you. So we all are praying that there should only be peace in the world. There should only be love in the world. There only should be forgiveness in the world. And sometimes it's just a reality from the beginning of man that sometimes there's going to be a war, and sometimes you have to stand up against evil. Otherwise, what happens is your kindness to the cruel ends up being cruel to the kind. Now, each of us has to know that if we're not in the military, we're not politicians, the way we can fix the world is by maintaining our own inner peace. The biggest enemy of the world, the most dangerous enemy of the world is man's ego, the human ego. That is what starts out all the religions and all the divisions. It's not for naught in the Bible. It speaks about Cain and Abel, Cain killing his brother Abel. This is just giving a small example of what happens of jealousy. And so what you could do, a lot of people who are shouting and getting fanatical one way or the other, ask yourself, how am I with my inner circle? That is where you really test a person if he really wants to bring peace to the world. Can you make up with your wife? Can you make up with one of your children, your parents, one of your siblings, Can you forgive someone at work that you've had a big thing with for a long time? What about your neighbor? Humble yourself. If you want to fix the world, fix your inner circle. That's the best you can do. Stay away from being fanatic, all this way, all that way. Not everything the Republicans do is bad. Not everything the Democrats do is good. People ask me, was Jesus a progressive or was he conservative? I say yes. They say, what do you mean? I said, this statements of Jesus that are strictly the most conservative that you can find. Even more conservative. Examples are, he says, I didn't come to add or retract one word from this book. And then he goes on, he becomes even more. He says, you're not just going to hell if it's like it says in the Old Testament, if you committed adultery, but I say if you even thought about it, you're going to hell. So if you're asking yourself if you want to be a follower of Jesus, have you thought about adultery? That means, according to Jesus, you're going to hell. That's very conservative. On the other hand, it was extreme. There was things that were extremely progressive, explaining the whole concept of Yehovah, Yud Kei Vav Kei. In Judaism, God is not a thing. It's not a person. It's not a thing. It's the translation of Yud Kei Yehovah means here and now, that which is. That which is. That's what God answers Moses when Moses says, what are you? And God says, I am that I am. The beingness, it's a presence. And that's why Jesus progressively says that me and the Father are one. Don't think of God as something separate from you somewhere else. And then what's supposed to happen is when it says the temple of God is in your heart, that's when you're supposed to realize if I want to go into the temple, I have to turn inward, cleanse my own heart. And I'll remember that not only if I say I and God are one, that means everything, everyone I see, that is God. And that's how I relate to it. So stay away from the black and white. If you just become one of those people, there's places in Christianity where you go to these places, God is just about love. Jesus is just love. I have a lot of friends like that. Those are the ones I like the best. And then you go to other churches, other people, it's fire and brimstone. I got friends that were so traumatized when they were young. God's going to shoot you down. You're going to hell. What did you do? Everything. It's crazy. Not all Islam is terrorists. But you can't just say, criticizing Islam is Islamophobia. No, it's not. Every university, they have total courses where they pick apart Judaism and Christianity. You cannot criticize Islam because they'll kill you. They'll call it Islam. Listen, read the Quran. I've read through it. Study it from other people who study it. There's a lot of sick things there. And the reason it's so dangerous, it's mixed from the Torah. And when Muhammad tried to convert the Jews and they wouldn't convert, he went crazy and he started all these things of hating the Jews, hating the Christians, hating anyone who's a Muslim. And so it's a mixed bag. There's all these things about bowing down everything to Allah, everything to God. But how sick is it to shout out God is great when you're killing innocent people? That's what they do. Whenever they want to make a terrorist act, they kill out God is great, Allahu Akbar. How you're taking in your hands, you're deciding, your God, that these people, you don't know what they voted for, you don't know who they are, and many times they kill their own. Look in the Iran-Iraq war. 500,000 people they killed, Muslims, because it's not the same type of Muslim. The same thing in Libya. Look at Syria under Barack Obama. 300,000 Muslims killed each other because they weren't the same type of Muslim. There is a lot of sickness there that we have to be aware of, and it is on American soil. And there are a lot of Muslims that want to be American Muslims, just like there's Christians that want to be American Christians. What does that mean? It's like so many people who come out of these Muslim countries that got brainwashed of how bad the Jews are. They can't believe it when they come to Israel and they start walking around Jerusalem and they see Jews in traditional Orthodox dress and Muslims in traditional Orthodox dress walking down the same streets in the same neighborhoods, and they couldn't believe, unlike the Temple Mount of Al-Aqsa Mosque of the Muslims, Jews and Christians are not allowed to go on that there. But in the Western Wall, the holiest place now available to the Jews, all of these ones, like, I couldn't believe it. They didn't ask me if I'm Muslim, if I'm Christian. They let me go there. All of the holy sites run by Israel under the Jews are available to people of all faiths. So you have to understand there is dangerous streams of Islam today. And we even know from a lot of these kids that joined ISIS, they were from the, quote, moderate, good Muslims, Americanized Muslims. People said, you know what? I want to follow Allah. I want to be a good, God-fearing person. I don't believe you should have 4 wives. I don't believe you should kill your daughter if she doesn't cover her hair. And then their kids who grew up like them, all of a sudden they got radicalized by ISIS because they know there are certain things in the Quran that you can easily be radicalized. So we have to be aware of this. We have to love those who want to love the way of democracy. Israel is the most open democratic society. People can't believe it who actually want to know the facts. Almost 2 million Muslims, full-fledged citizens here. They don't have to go to the army like all Israelis. And they're given free education. Half of the doctors and nurses in all of our hospitals, they're Muslim. Many times it goes smoothly and it's good. There are problems with that. There are people who associate themselves with the terrorists, and it's problematic. But most of the time, there's a lot of good examples. And now that a lot of Muslims have tasted what it's like to be under Israeli rule, they're happy to be in a Jewish country, trust me. So anyway, people, the best thing you can do for America and freedom, for the Palestinian people, for the Israeli people, for the good Iranian people that want to be free, for people who don't want communist Russia and China to take over the world, is to support America to quickly finish this war. They have to take care of the Strait of Hormuz. It has to be opened. There should be in place a strategy for that. And quickly, you have to set the stage so that the Iranian people, they themselves will go ahead and take over this regime. We see it happening here in Israel. It's planned out. Have some patience. There's no way that 47 years of tyranny is going to be taken care of in a month. It's going to take a little bit longer, and we have to stick together. And blessing you all. Make peace within your inner circle. That's the best you can do with the world. Stay away from fanaticism, all black, all white.